You did too.
I've seen him there too.
Okay, that's us. Oh, wait a minute, we almost had a forum at Costco here.
That's
Oh,
right.
Chance meeting, yeah.
In Costco.
So if three members meet at Costco, is that a Brown Act violation?
There wasn't. Yikes. They're getting serious here, buddy. It was separate, whatever it was. Yeah.
We're all in one place and you discuss.
Yeah, you had to discuss like before the board, yeah, something.
Damn, look at that thing. Jesus, Ronnie.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to call to order the January 2024 meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. This is a council appointed by the Board of Supervisors, which provides advice to the board with respect to community affairs. And we can start off with the roll call.
Yeah.
Okay, would somebody like to lead us in the pledge?
Well, I've done it the last two times.
I'll lead us. Okay.
Everyone's gonna.
No, it was for you not to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
I'd like to see Chief Gates just stood in it.
All right,
Did you do?
roll call.
Thomas Lang,
Here.
George Cleveland,
I'm here.
Susan Monroe,
Yeah.
Jim Herman,
Was an excused absence?
Dr. Melinda McLean,
Yes, sir.
Mickey Norris,
Here.
Tom Owens,
Here.
Shirley Rosenthal Winston,
This is a excused absence.
and also the same for Emily Newman.
May I ask a question about the council here and what are our obligations in terms of showing up? Because there's some people who don't show up at all, I mean, maybe once a year. And I was wondering if those seats should be held by those people, or if they should be opened up to other people who might wanna come and participate.
So I agree with you. That was in the back of my mind as this just came up. I just think that we do have a waiting list of people who want to be on the council. And perhaps a good approach would be to contact people who aren't showing up and ask them, would you like to, are you willing to show up? And if they can't commit to it, as politely ask, look, there are people who would like to be in this position and would you be willing to seek your seat? Is that
I
reasonable?
think John has the power to do that, doesn't he?
Maybe,
I'm pretty sure he does.
now the thing is, I think on this, it would be helpful to clearly delineate the alternates and what they're supposed to do. Because if you look at it on space, an alternate would be showing up if some of the people, the other members aren't able to be here. So that's part of it. The other thing is, the other person who's absent, who's chronically absent, has been asked in the past repeatedly, hey, do you want to give up your seat? You don't show up too very much. And the response has always been, nah, I want to stay.
Okay, so.
So there's one case of a person, and I won't name names, who is dealing with family health issues and is going to be out, through January or February. And this person has previously been an enthusiastic participant, but I told her, look, family first, we love you on the committee, just do what you need to do. And then there's somebody else who just hasn't shown up.
So if somebody has a family thing like that or whatever, should there be like a leave of absence or something? Because then it's a little clearer about who's doing what. I mean, I don't wanna get into people's business, but if they know that really, for the next 4
Everyone's
months.
expected to show. That'd be nice. Yeah.
And, or if not, I mean, take a leave of absence, and we know that's why you're doing it, you'll be back. Right. Okay, well,
And then I think there needs to be some sort of system to say so and so is absent and then talk to and.
and this was on leave of absence, not
advisory,
just
the
absent, but leave of absence.
alternates, so that they know to show up.
Yeah.
Should an alternate show up anyways?
Yes,
Just in case
they
an
should.
alternate is- I mean, when I was an alternate, I showed up.
Alternate jurors sit in the courtroom.
Yeah.
So I mean, so I guess to answer your question, George, everybody should show up.
Right, what I'm saying is, I'm not certain if that's been made abundantly clear, so that could be.
So I think that there's an opportunity to do that. And I think probably the first thing to do would be to talk with, you know, bounce that off John to see what the correct way to do that is. And, you know, hopefully the outcome will be is this person who doesn't show up will relinquish their position. And then we can hold on to the person who is dealing with medical issues.
Yeah.
When worst comes to worst, we always serve on John's gone, so that he can always say you're no longer.
I mean, it would be nice if that could be done without like.
Without,
fiat.
yeah.
But
Let's work on conversations. Find out what people's commitment is.
Chris,
Yep.
Yeah, first off, I thought there was a delineated policy on number of excusable absences
I
before
thought so
somebody was.
too.
Second off, I think because of that, it'd be helpful to have a chart of the past year. Who's,
We've done that in the past.
okay, but I mean, when you're talking about this, and the third thing I would say is if the alternate, if somebody's gonna be gone for a certain amount of time, I think that's when you would have an alternate. I agree that alternate showing up is a good idea.
Yeah.
But I think that if someone is going to be gone, for like a leave of absence for health.
If
that
you're
would
on
be a
leave of
good-
absence and the alternate is not an alternate, they should vote while that person is on.
Right, yeah, they should be in there.
Right.
Yeah,
That
those are
makes
my
sense.
Well,
things.
that's always the case, if an alternate's here and there's not 7 people, they can vote, their vote counts.
yeah, and I'm sorry, this is something that's been in my mind, I should have. Pursued it, but we've been making quorum and just hasn't come up, but this is just all a really good point. And what I'll do is send John an email and sort of summarize our discussion, get his recommendation on how we should.
Because this MAC, I think is pretty cool in that we have quite a lot of enthusiastic people who would really like to serve. And so I think that we should make way for them.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. So, treasurer's report?
Yes, so the new year, the annual allotment is back at 3,000 for this round, so. Back at the rate free last.
I need a new cable for my Mac.
Not from here, back here now. Is that your meetings?
Okay, so 3,000,
Yes.
so approval of minutes, it looks like we're caught up, man, great job. So approval of minutes from December 2023 meeting.
I make a motion to accept them as written.
Okay,
I'll second it.
Okay.
motion seconded, any
Does anyone
discussion?
want to take some time to read them?
I read them.
I mean, I read them, I didn't,
I didn't see anything.
usually I always miss things, so
Yeah.
usually it's always. Sounds like a envy pageant.
Sentence was not worthy of you.
The bullying incident, it's very vague, it says an announcement regarding it, because. What was the announcement?
Oh, it just happened. There was a firing incident, there's been more since
All
then.
good, that's
So I can actually report on that.
Great.
Wow.
It's happening.
But in a minute, we didn't get all that, but we're gonna get it later in this meeting. Right, don't you have a report on that later in this meeting? You said you were going to.
And
It isn't in the agenda, but we should,
so we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes.
yes.
Keep us on track.
So in MAC member items, I'll just talk a little bit about the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Lieutenant Rodriguez, should we vote on accepting the minutes?
You should.
Looks like it's unanimous.
It's not. No, I abstain. I wasn't there.
And so I wasn't there.
So you should abstain as well.
I didn't have to. Well, no, you
You weren't here either.
don't have to abstain if you don't want to.
But it looks like it's a solid majority. Minutes are accepted.
We're gonna ignore you, George. That's fine. I'll just kind of crawl on the table and then see.
Okay. County update.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Awesome. So I'll start with the park working group and the park initiative status. Supervisor Joy was successful at getting the board of supervisors to allocate $1 million annually for the measure, from the Measure X sales tax fund towards parks and unincorporated areas. Yeah. Which Sobrante is a part of that, and so this is the first time that the county has allocated general funding money towards parks. But we don't have, while we have not yet determined how much each unincorporated area will get from this $1 million fund, there will be a significant amount for El Sobrante that should be sufficient for park maintenance. Also, there's still no final decision on the site. I know that there's been some conversation around the Maori site. I also believe there's a meeting next Wednesday, which I'll be attending as well. But we're still in conversations with possibly using the Mechanics Bank parking lot for a town center. But that, we'll be picking those conversations back up towards the end of this year. So, yeah, super excited, really excited.
It's really great.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of unlocks a whole area of this, because if you think of it, with that proposal to convert the Maori site, one of the downfalls of it from the point of view of getting funded was the lack of sustainability and maintenance.
Was it just one?
Now, I mean,
Hey.
But
once we tone down on a site, at least we know there will be the funds to maintain the park. So that is a huge deal. Congratulations to John.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
And so in regards to the bike town, the San Pablo Down Road Bike Lane Town Hall, we hosted a town hall here beginning of last month. So for all those that haven't watched the replay, you can go to the District 1's homepage and view the replay there. There's also a survey link if you would like to give some feedback in regards to the proposal on our homepage as well. We're planning to do follow-ups with the Public Works team on the next steps regarding the implementation of those proposals. And so we're picking that conversation back up within the next few months here as well. And finally, the an update on the noise ordinance issue. Currently, DCD and our office are in the initial stages of planning outreach towards the ordinance. While we don't have a detailed plan just yet, we are actively working on developing a set of questions that will be converted into a survey format. And so once this is completed, we'll plan to send out a memo to all the MACs that it would be have the same issue and to be included in a packet for an upcoming meeting. This memo will outline the listening process we intend to undertake and provide a link to an additional feedback survey. And in terms of coordination with the sheriff's office, we understand that the enforcement is probably the main spoke in this deal. And so we'll be reaching out to the sheriff's office to see how we can, get something on the table in regards to enforcement for that ordinance if and when it's passed. And so those are my updates.
So can you give us an idea of what kind of information will be solicited in the survey?
I don't have anything just yet.
Okay, just
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you hate your neighbors?
No.
You hate your neighbors.
Maybe along the lines of what the previous ordinance has been about, like party size,
Yeah.
decibel level, and, when does it kick in?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
so I heard the part about the listening tour, for lack of a better phrase.
Is it possible to just compile everything that you've heard of the meetings here for the last 6 months and say that's the list of interpreters? I don't think our folks need to repeat ourselves as to why we were kind of spearheading this in the first place. You know, it seems, I don't know, it seems like an unproductive use of time to come to us, our community, and say, hey, what do you think about the idea of the noise ordinance? I know I'm oversimplifying it, but I don't know, what do you
And
think?
what's the downside of not having a noise ordinance?
But I was still like, why have come to hear us and say, what do you think?
I mean,
George, I don't think it's about us, I think it's about all the other people
Fair
who
enough.
haven't been doing this.
Fair enough.
And if they create it for the whole county, they gotta get buy-in from other people.
Oh, I know that, I'm saying.
But we could probably just fill the survey out from our own experience and hand it in like that.
That's what I was, I wasn't saying the rest of the county, I was saying us, because we already know how we feel about it, you know? And from what Ronnie says, it's like someone's gonna come to the county and come to this group and say, hey, what do you think about it? You know?
So I feel like it's probably, if this is gonna be put into play, there should be a uniform process across all the maps.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just do ours very close.
And it's just gonna get the max, not
And there may
like
be people,
we
there may
can
be,
just do it like this.
you know, it could be based on the existing noise ordinance, but there may be little variations here or there. And maybe we just don't have enough input on that, so it could be.
Okay, that's correct. Just wanna make sure we're not like reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, so, a good point.
I'm just glad the wheel's turning.
Any
Yeah.
any further questions regarding the county update?
So Ronnie, we talked a little bit about public health and emergency services in West County. Have you heard from anybody about somebody coming from public health to talk to us about that?
I reached out, but I haven't heard anything just yet.
Okay.
But I'll continue to, reach out wherever.
Good, because I think that's an urgent thing every time, we hear from Chief Gage and other people and, there's just a lot of horror stories out there of not having enough emergency services in West County.
I'll definitely put some pressure on my end, but I haven't heard anything just
Understood.
yet.
Let me know if I can put some pressure on other ends.
Yes, for sure.
Then I won't just be saying it to you, I can say other people do.
Thank you, Melinda. Are
Thanks.
there any other questions for Marty?
Can you tell us more about the next week's meeting?
The little I know
Is that the Citizens for Greener Sobrante?
yes, that
And
is.
they're gonna be seeking input about parks and basically.
Yes,
So people are interested in the park, having a park here, they should show.
Yeah, it's on seventeenth and it's here and
from 7 to 9.
7 to 9, yes, okay. Does anybody on the Zoom have any questions for Ronnie about Supervisor Joya's report? Doesn't look like it, okay.
Anybody from the all right, so we'll move on to the next item, which is Chief Gage, the fire protection district update.
Good evening, everyone. Just to make sure I got audio, could somebody give me a hands up? Fantastic.
We can hear you.
Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. I wish I could be there. Hopefully I could be there next month. Let's see, some updates for Con Fire, local updates. I think it's just of interest to everybody on the council. We had a historic first going on right now in West County where Richmond Fire Station 66, which is on Clinton Avenue off of San Pablo Avenue, had some emergency repairs to the station. And we were unable, Richmond was unable to locate like a suitable facility to relocate the crew. So we were able to work it out between Con Fire and Richmond Fire to move Engine Company 66 into Station 70, which is located at 23rd and Market, about 2 miles from where Station 66 normally is. So right now we are quartering a Richmond Fire engine to be able to provide service to their area while their fire station is receiving emergency repairs. And I just wanted to mention it to everyone because I think it highlights the level of coordination and cooperation that we have between all the fire agencies in West County, that we're so integrated that we could move a fire engine from a different fire department into our fire station, and essentially it's a turnkey operation. We have the same communication, same alerting. Both dispatch centers can dispatch either agency resources directly. So I just wanted to mention that to everyone, that I think that's a great thing to see. And you never know, we could have an issue at Station 69, and I'm sure that Richmond would host us at Station 63, which is over on Valley View. It's that time of year where we tend to have a lot more structure fires. So I wanted to just mention to everyone just how important it is this time of year to check your smoke detectors. Most modern smoke detectors now operate with a 5-year battery. If you still have a smoke detector with a 9-volt battery, I'd highly recommend looking into replacing it with the 5-year battery type that are almost exclusively available now. We recommend that you have at least one operating smoke detector on each level of your home, assuming you have a multi-story home, and a smoke detector that covers every sleeping area. The other thing that we sometimes forget about is chimneys. So if you use your chimney for heating, please have it inspected and cleaned by a certified chimney sweep. A large number of fires this time of year are due to chimney fires, and it's always good to have them inspected, because your modern chimney sweep now actually checks your chimney with a camera to make sure that the chimney is structurally intact and clear of any issues with the chimney construction itself or any other obstructions that are in your chimney. Also, please, if you're able, assist yourself and assist your neighbors by making sure your local storm drains are clear. That'll help us alleviate local flooding, and then flooding that just multiplies issues in your neighborhood. I updated the council last month about emergency medical services tiered response. So our system is now supported not only by paramedic staffed ambulances, but staff ambulances that are staffed by emergency medical technicians, which is a lower level of service. But those EMTs, due to our enhanced call screening processes in our communication center, are handling now 20% of the 911 calls that we handle. And that helps us keep the paramedic staffed ambulances available for the higher priority emergency medical calls. And I think, and I mentioned it last month, but I'll mention again that there's a nationwide shortage of paramedics, and it's a way for us to continue to provide effective service by sending the right resource to the right call. I think it also highlights the importance of the fact that Contra Costa Fire deploys a paramedic on every engine, truck, and rescue that we staff throughout the county. So when those ambulances are committed to other incidents, you have ready access to a paramedic in case of a medical emergency. We are on the ambulance subject. 2024 is the year that we need to rebid the paramedic ambulance 911 request for proposal process. So we're providing a proposal to continue to provide ambulance service throughout Contra Costa County, so we can continue to maintain those high levels of service that we've been able to achieve. It's hard to believe we've been overseeing ambulance response for almost 10 years now. It boggles my mind. It's gone by really fast. We welcomed a new public information officer to Con Fire. Her name is Lauren Ono. She's joined our department from the Folsom Fire Department and West Metro Fire District in Colorado. She's really sharp, very innovative. I'm really excited about what she's going to bring to the position. I provided her contacts to Ronnie, so if you need to contact her, you'll have her information. Last item before I turn it over to Michelle is Academy 60 started this week. So we have 20 firefighters in Academy 60. We have 15 from Con Fire. 13 of the 15 are EMTs, 2 of the 15 are firefighter paramedics. But I'm glad to mention that of the 13 EMTs, I think we got 2 or 3 that are in advanced phase of paramedic training. So we're going to reach back and grab them after they finish the fire academy and finish their probationary year and assist them with completing paramedic school. So hopefully we'll have 5 paramedics out of the 15 that we have in the academy. Also, a historic first is we're hosting in that academy 5 firefighter paramedics from the Maraga Fire District are doing their training with Con Fire and a part of our fire academy. So that's the end of my report. I'd like to turn it over to Michelle so she can update you on local wildland fire resilience projects and community-based fire safe councils in the El Sobrante area.
Thank you, Chief Gates. I appreciate your support and your level of professionalism. When I grow up, I want to be just like you. So the wildfire mitigation program update is as follows. 182 applications have been received. 79 projects are complete. We've added 2 new fireways communities in the Greenbrier and Kennedy Grove communities. I wanted to extend special thanks to Joyce Forte and Erica Pang, residents of those neighborhoods, for their diligence and dedication to the fireways process. Greenbrier was welcomed to the pub ed team and received information about evacuation, receiving go bags, lists of things to collect if evacuations are necessary, what to do on red flag days, and we're very receptive to that information. So I just wanted to thank those 2 communities for their efforts. Also, Community Shipping Day is now complete at the Wildcat Canyon Community School, and we look to build in 2024 on those completed projects from 2023. Some reminders about the wildfire mitigation program. When there are complaints, neighborhood complaints, please work with your local code enforcement departments to address those complaints. This program is intended to leverage existing partnerships between neighbors and fire departments to reduce fuel loads. Those needs for complaints need to be handled within the jurisdiction of the city. If additional support is needed to enter a request, feel free to contact me. I'll put my contact information into the chat. The last thing that I'd like to touch on, the East Richmond Heights shaded fuel break. This is a neighboring community project proposal. It's in the planning stages. It's a CAL FIRE grant funded project. The deadline was today. I've been very busy. We'll receive an update within about 3 months of whether it is rewarded or not. That said, I realize that this project is not in your immediate community. However, you are in the adjacent ridge line of this project. So depending on which direction the winds blow, this does affect you. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. Many thanks to Supervisor Joya and his collaboration with Confire's Chief Burchard in developing the proposed project area. Once again, I'll put those links into the chat, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
So much for both of your presentations, and are there any questions for Chief Gage? Sue?
I thought that we had become a firewise community around the Clark Road area.
Clark Road?
Yeah, in that area, Jana Vista, Clark Road. Did you not receive something from them? Because I just heard today that we got wanted firewise.
Oh, it might be about ready to be on my radar. Do you know if they forwarded that to my email?
Becky Con Vargas is the person, one of the coordinators.
Okay, I look forward to receiving more information about that from Becky.
Okay. And who should, I'm sorry, I didn't catch, who should she address it to?
It would be the Fireways contact for Confire. She can send that information to info@cccfpd, and feel free to have her also CC me, and I'll get it over to Inspector Giddis. My email is mrine@cccfpd.org.
Thank you very much. And the second thing is that you said something about needs for requests for help for local brush clearance. Was that what you were talking about? I didn't quite catch that, but it's very germane to my particular neighborhood.
I'm sorry, about brush clearing?
Yeah, we have a finger of privately owned land that's wooded.
Yes.
And it's a huge problem, and we don't know what to do because we cannot get hold of the owner.
Okay,
We address problems like that too.
have you contacted the local code enforcement department?
I think, yes, I have, and have not heard anything back from them.
Okay, so again, working with the code enforcement department within their jurisdiction, I'm happy to take that information and provide it to our weed abatement team if it's just brush or weed abatement that's needed, and I'll be happy to give that information to the right person.
Okay, thank
You
you.
know, Sue, I bet if Ronnie called code enforcement, you'd find out who the owner is.
I know who the owner is, but we can't get in touch with them.
I see, got it.
Further questions, Chris?
With this market some paper about fire insurance and insurance going up really high, like 20% or better. I'm just wondering if any of this fire-wise communities or fire mitigation projects, does that in any way offset some of this, so people who live here will be able to use that to maybe go against some of those price increases?
So I had the pleasure of witnessing the presentation that the insurance commissioner presented at the Kensington Town Hall last October. And she went into extensive detail about the influence of mitigation efforts on insurance programs. That said, the mitigation program as a whole is to reduce fuel loads and increase community safety. As far as insurance reduction, that would be dependent on the individual companies that people hold their policies with. I can't say for sure that, the things that I can say for sure I will, but individually, the policies that people hold, that's not for me to say, basically.
Further questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
just to add to what Michelle said, insurance is a major issue in California. And if you have the ability to organize a fire safe council in your area, if you live in a wildland urban interface area, which most of El Sobrante is that, I'd highly recommend that you help organize and get those local efforts going. And it can do nothing but benefit the situation. However, insurance in the macro level at all in California is a very challenging issue. And I don't want to lead you astray to say that that's a way to reduce your insurance, but it's definitely something that's going to benefit your situation, and hopefully you'll never have to use it.
And of course, Chief said it in a much more elegant way. Thank you very much.
George?
Anybody on the Zoom call have any questions for Chief Gage or Ms. Reinhardt about their report? Don't see anybody? Okay. Well, so Chief, as
Yes.
always, it's great to see you. It's great to hear from you. We appreciate the work that you and all people who report to you do on our behalf. And as you said, we don't see you in person next month. I mean, nice to see you.
Yeah, I really hope things line up next month so I can see everyone. I hope everyone has a great night.
Thank you so much, Chief. And thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
So, in that case, we'll move to our next agenda item. So Lieutenant Rodriguez will provide an A station update.
Here he is in person.
Yeah, welcome back. Happy New Year, guys. Happy to see you guys. I'll just start off with select crime trends, then we'll get into some of the current events.
He stands so you can be on camera,
I can do it again. Oh, there we go.
Because, you know, for people on air, these voices from nowhere seem really weird.
From on high.
There we go.
Yeah.
So for the month of December, we generated 49 reports, our select crime trends for the past 3-month period. In October, we had 11 select crimes. November, we had 15. In December, we saw 11. The majority of those, it consistently tends to be crimes against property, or property crimes, I should say, not crimes against persons. Crimes against persons that were listed, we had a couple of domestic violence cases. They had one that assault case. The majority of the other crimes were either petty theft from vehicles, auto burglaries, or burglaries. Which leads me into some of the current events. Just this week, we've seen 3 burglaries in the past couple of days on Dan Road specifically. The neighborhood donut was burglarized. We also had a acupuncture office as well as a dental office. Now, in each of those items of value, of high value, were actually left behind, and miscellaneous items were taken, which is a little suspicious. We do have a lead in those cases, but just to give you an idea, computers were left behind, ATM machines, lottery tickets, things like that. So there was vandalism. They broke windows to get into the facility. In one instance, it was the same facility that was actually burglarized twice, unfortunately. And both times it was miscellaneous items that were actually taken. So
It's trying to figure out what do you steal from an acupuncturist's office? Other than their computer,
yeah,
right? What is in there?
yeah,
It's not a huge business.
Yeah.
Those supplements are expensive.
yeah.
Maybe it was for good money.
So we are increasing patrols in the area, saturating during daytime, making more contacts with those in the area, as well as at nighttime with security checks and things of that nature. So other things that we're seeing, not so much recently here in El Sobrante, but just across the county in general, is we continue to see the telecommunication cables are being stolen. We've made several arrests in those cases. In several instances, we've actually on-viewed the crime as it's taking place. And some of them are trying to hide it pretty good. They're throwing on the utility vests, thinking that we won't pick up on it. And then going in action, and they're stealing a significant amount of cables. And some of it's 200 feet, 300 feet of the telecommunication cable. What they're doing is stripping it essentially from the whatever coating is in it, and then going and selling the metal. So there are measures that are taken in place to try and catch them. But as I said, we have made arrests, both on-view arrests and then after the fact making arrests based on the investigations. Where it's of some concern though is that it is telecommunication cable, meaning that depending on the amount of line and the time that it takes to get it put back in place, you may be without service depending on where it's at. So the areas that are being affected the most, at least recently, is North Richmond, specifically off of between Brookside and Market. There's a stretch along the railroad tracks that we're seeing continues to be hit. Other areas recently, Port Costa saw one there. El Sobrante has had one previously, but just not recently. I believe the last one was in November. Other things that we're seeing as far as sheriff's office goes, staffing wise, we're coming up on shift change. We're gonna have 21 deputies rolling out to the patrol field entry program. So we'll start training. We also have 16 recruits that recently graduated the basic academy. So they just started their jail ops orientation as well as 5 laterals. So we'll have 21 going through that process as well as 21 coming out patrol, which is a good thing. Base station continue to have the 7 beats operating. Other events of note, sheriff's office had its sheriff's charity shop with the sheriff event. We partner with Macy's each year, and as donations from the community, we go out. This year's event, we were able to sponsor 15 students from 4 different elementary schools across the west end of the county. What they do is they provide wish lists for their siblings as well as the parents in the household. And then the deputies will actually go with them and shop for their family members on a select day. So this year's event, we're able to provide and ensure, I should say, that 50 siblings of the students that were selected, as well as 30 adults in those households, all were able to have gifts, and then other things that are donated as gift cards to ensure they have meals and things of that nature. So it was a great event, very, very successful. We appreciate the support of the community and also the partnership that we have with Macy's to be able to do that. Outside of that, other things I was just made aware of today that there is some funding that's going to be available through conservation. And one of the suggestions I made is that the creek, while some of the impoundments have been cleared, there's a lot of debris that has been left behind. So that's some concern. So we can earmark some funds to get some of that removed. The other areas would be Wildcat Creek. We're seeing similar things there. A lot of debris being left behind. So we're going to try and utilize some of those funds to get some cleanup projects going in both places. So that is just the conversation that I had today. So I believe there's a meeting next week, and hopefully we'll be able to get some further traction with that project. That's all I have at this time. Any questions for me?
Thank you so much for your presentation, Sue.
A quick question, in the news right now, and also I don't think going through California's legislature, is this idea that people are going into like Walmart and stripping shelves, and you can see there's a perception there that happens, but I'm unclear as to whether the perception is the reality.
I would say it's definitely a reality. If you just look at some of the communities, San Francisco, for instance, they're seeing some of their largest retail stores have actually closed and moved out. I've had meetings, I can tell you I've had meetings with Walgreens, both the one here on Dan Road and the one on San Pablo Ave, with their loss prevention. They actually have a retainer with an attorney because of the fact that they've seen so much loss as a result of theft that they're wanting to know why some of the crimes are being prosecuted. And in some cases, it's not always the defense attorney. In some cases, it's the practice of business. So to give kind of an understanding on that is, if we show up and I didn't necessarily honor that crime and the dollar amount of the theft doesn't reach a certain threshold, I'm asking the business or the private citizen, are you willing to place this person under citizen's arrest for that crime? If they say, or do you desire prosecution, right? Even if it's over desire prosecution. And if the business says no to either one of those, the one is the arrest may not be made, and the other is even if it's forwarded off to the district attorney, if the victim is not willing to cooperate with prosecution, the district attorney is not likely to file charges because you're not going to be able to. You don't have a cooperative witness.
And so that's well known, so people go in and just clear off shelves.
Yeah, so years ago, there was a proposition, Prop 47, and that changed the classification for sentencing on a lot of things. So one of them, a perfect example would be a stolen vehicle. Previously, prior to Prop 47 passing, if you were caught in a stolen vehicle, it was a felony, you were looking at essentially prison time, a year in prison. And Prop 47 changed that along with a bunch of other crimes and changed the sentencing and the classification for that. And so what you see now is a lot of crimes that can catch you and essentially give you a citation and you're free to leave. And you can walk down the street and do the same thing with somebody else's vehicle and I can issue a citation. And if you eventually get convicted and we sentence you to so many days in county jail, the other part is you may be released from county jail. So on most crimes, if you get booked, the district attorney will have 72 hours to file charges on you, at which time if charges are filed on you, then you will remain in custody unless you bail out. However, the bail laws have also changed, meaning that now, in most cases, there's no requirement to bail, you can be released. So a lot of times what you're seeing is people go through the process and then they're not being, to give an example, I had previous cases and previous assignments when I was a deputy to where two large offshore boats, we're talking a value of $250,000 were stolen. the individual, the suspects were caught on camera. We actually caught one of the suspects when they crashed the boat on the rock levee. And then they were essentially released pending their case. And while they were out on that case with these two boats, we're talking over $500,000 worth of property value. They were actually caught in the stolen vehicle. So you can see it's on all fronts, even if charges are filed under sentence, based on the sentencing and everything else, there's a lot of turnover with people coming back out, so. In regards to your specific question of retail theft, that is a very real thing. And that's why you're seeing all the stores that are essentially locking the items up.
Yeah, I mean, it's now a real nightmare going shopping for everybody in Walmart, because you have to get someone to unlock every single cabinet.
Absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, the last meeting, I shared a copy of the California noise ordinance with your representative. I was wondering if you knew anything about that.
Not the California noise ordinance, but if you want to talk afterward, we can talk specifically, or if you want to share that information.
Well, I'm curious, I handed it to the gentleman, and he said he's gonna look into it and share it with your department, and I was wondering if you knew anything about it.
He may have shared it specifically with the supervisor, however, I have met with the supervisor from code enforcement. And part of the group, the working group that we're talking about in regards to the ordinance, I'll be a part of that as well.
So you missed, we had an extensive update on the noise ordinance. So you might just briefly touch bases with Ronnie. And get caught up.
Yeah, sure.
And if you want to, I'll give my contact information, you can discuss it.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
absolutely, I appreciate it, sir.
I just want to say, don't forget about us in those cleanups, but I'll speak about that on my time. And if you're not hanging out, I need to talk to you. We need to talk, because I may have some information about the company like that. I'm sending it to Richmond, but I didn't think I should be sending it to you guys as well.
Yeah, so a couple issues with the copper stuff, there's jurisdictional, so there's various agencies involved. In some of the areas that it's happening frequently, where a bunch of agencies all have neighboring jurisdiction, right?
Where I'm talking about is exactly.
Right next
across the road.
to, yeah, so you actually have Union Pacific Railroad Police, BNSF Railroad Police, San Pablo Police, Richmond Police, and Sheriff's Office. So
We'll talk, that
I appreciate it.
information coming out of the.
Perfect.
Are you, so does that mean that like, so my copper was stolen again? It was stolen in December, we lost internet for 4 weeks. It just got fixed 2 weeks later, it got stolen again here in Canyon. Like 3 minutes from here, but it's Richmond jurisdiction until you hit San Pablo Dam Road. So I'm just curious, is, because the theft is happening relatively in the El Sobrante Valley, are you guys, like communicating with one another, or is it really, and I understand the jurisdiction, is it really kind of a clear line, like Richmond's handling, because somebody had mentioned to me the FBI is involved, but I don't know if that's just chatter on, on next door, but
So,
yeah, I was just curious if there's communication.
yeah, so there is a very clear line in terms of where the crime happens, who the jurisdiction is responsible for investigating that crime. That is very clear. Where there is the sharing of information is a lot of times the leads and the suspects, where you have one case are related to another case, and the other is the victim in terms of the propriety of what's being stolen. And a lot of these, it's AT&T.
Yeah,
And so we're actually working with their security and their loss prevention to try and resolve it as well. So we're getting a lot of that information.
Same thing, when my wire got stolen, which was an indoor thing, not a telecommunications thing. It strikes me though that when they steal infrastructure like that, that's like terrorism. I mean, that's critical infrastructure, right? I mean, they said that when they took the lights off of the freeways in Seattle and when they knocked out a substation in LA. So that it would make sense to me that this is becoming such a thing that it's almost terrorism.
Which would tie into your thing about the FBI.
Right.
So it might be chatter, it might not.
well, the AT&T representative who actually lives in nearby here came to my house and told me that the FBI was involved, but to me, it says, I just want my this is now ridiculous.
Yes.
Well, that's because it is critical infrastructure.
Well, so where you gotta be careful with that is there's certain agencies that are responsible for defining what qualifies as the critical infrastructure. And then on top of that, in order for it to meet the terrorism threshold, there's specific things that have to be met for the definition of it. It mainly intent, what's the intent behind it and that sort of things. But I do agree with you in terms of, there is some risk. I mean, some of it, for instance, there are businesses down in North Richmond that they're an online business. So every day that's down, they're not able to process their sales, which obviously has a direct impact on their ability to work. And then yeah, the communication line. So we are seeing some of that. I can tell you today, I was told there was about as many as 15 AT&T trucks down in North Richmond were running lines. So it is something that is actively being addressed, and it is a huge problem. But not just here on the west end. It's
statewide, and it's, you know, and up in Seattle and everywhere.
Oh,
It's
yes.
the whole West Coast for sure.
And so, just like catalytic converter, some of the other precious metal steps, things like that. One of the challenges is being able to identify the property that's been stolen, and then, you know, in some cases, there's no, you know, depending on what it is, there may not be identifying marks on it to where, you know, even if I catch you with it, I know what that is, you know, but I can't necessarily say that you stole it. Right?
Where it came from.
Or where it came from. You'd have to have more to be able to put a case together. And not to say it can be done, it just takes a little bit longer to be able to do so. Versus the ones where we're seeing people actively do.
So I just, oh, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
So I understand you're doing your job great, so, and you are, I just really want to commend all of what you're doing, but what happened, why is it such a commodity? The next step for where it goes, what do we need to do to make that stop? Because it's not them stealing it, that's bad, but who's taking it that they want to steal it for? Where is it going that it makes so much money?
It's copper, so it's just valuable.
Yeah, very
It
valuable.
just goes to wherever anybody that processes copper, it's like, I have metal to sell to you. The people who are apparently receiving said metal are not questioning its provenance and where it came from, so it's money.
And you're absolutely right, try to make it harder for it to be profitable for them on the other end. The issue with that is now you're talking about legislation or putting measures in place to where now if I was a recycler and you brought me that, there's certain things before I can receive that from you, there's certain things I need to do to verify that you are the owner of this property and that I can take it. But until those measures are in place, they have to assume that they have every right to assume that you're the rightful owner, and they're.
They do have holds on it, right? 3-day hold or something on.
Yeah, they can before people come down, and that's one of the ways for investigations is making contact with the recyclers to say, hey, we recently had this many feet stolen, you know. Did you have anybody bring?
It's 200 feet of fiber optic to come into.
Pretty much. It's beyond ridiculous and, you know, but with that being said, that doesn't mean that, you know.
So it seems to me like you almost have to do the same thing that the banking industry does and the home loan industry does. You have to show where if you're going for a loan, you have to show where all of your assets come from. And so there should be something like that here. The other point I wanted to bring up is, from what I understand regarding these burglaries where people go into Walmart, et cetera, or other stores and strip the merchandise, is that it's actually dangerous to to place these thieves under arrest, that it's actually physically risky, and often, the security guards are instructed not to interfere because they simply don't have the training to equip themselves with these potentially armed criminals.
Yeah,
So,
and when they do interfere, people die, like that young black transgender man in San Francisco.
Right.
So, retail theft is retail theft, it's everywhere. I don't know that we would necessarily ascribe it to a certain legislation. I say this because on New Year's Eve and that week, I was back in Boston. And went into a CVS in a neighborhood in Boston that's not a rough neighborhood, and everything was on a lock and key that they thought could be, so it's not just legislation here, it's not just things here, it's everywhere, so, you know.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you, sir, that both you guys are hit the nail on the head. It is dangerous to intervene, and a lot of these corporations do have policies that restrict their folks from intervening.
This was a CVS.
Because if something does happen, whether it's to them or to the individual that they're confronting, they could be held similarly liable. I give you a perfect example, there was Oakland Police Department had a memorial service today for an officer that was killed. He was killed during the burglary of a marijuana dispensary, and they were responding to that, and the suspects opened fire on his on the vehicle, so it is very dangerous, not only for the corporation security, but also for law enforcement responding to it. So yeah, it's a real thing, it is a real problem, and part of it is some of it is consequences. If there's not a consequence. And I'll tell you just one more point, just to kind of reiterate how big of a problem it is. California actually has grant funding specifically for retail theft suppression. So agencies throughout the state have submitted for grant funding specifically to combat retail theft.
Sounds like there are probably a lot of factors that need to be addressed, including the lack of deterrence in the laws, right? So, you know, how do you deter it and how do you prevent it from happening?
There's something in the California legislature right now about use and its
Yeah, I just read that today in the newspaper, and these big times that Newsom wants to reform Prop 47 so that crimes of theft, for example, that they're going to resell. If that will be more, that'll be harsher penalties. Give people another tool to deter. You know, if you can't resell it, I mean, why are they stealing all these things?
Yeah.
Reselling stuff.
Does anybody on the Zoom have any questions or comments for Lieutenant Rodriguez's report? That's a no. Well, we thank, as always.
Any further questions, Chris?
Yeah, this isn't actually a question, it's just a follow-up with what Sue was saying at the beginning, which is that it appears that there was a report issued by a national retail institution last spring saying that there was this huge spike in these kind of crimes, along with this birth of YouTube and internet videos, TikToks of it happening. And so those two things kind of combined together, where it did cause an actual increase. However, the group that made that claim initially, the Retail Association, has since rescinded that report, saying that more than half of the alleged theft from outside was actually items were stolen by staff, but for insurance purposes, they're better off if they're saying it was stolen, and so they were covering up a lot of employee. Yeah, thank you. By this, and so, but by that coming out when it did, plus all this TikTok this up, so forth, this time, not only has it created an impression, this actually has caused a spike.
Well, thank you so much, Lieutenant Rodriguez, for everything you do and for your presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys, thank you.
All right, so I don't believe we have the highway patrol here.
They're
Okay.
still AWOL.
Yeah, that was like almost
6 months,
you know.
yeah.
And they're
So,
understaffed.
At least the ships are
Let's keep
down.
them on the street.
Why should describe that as a bad joke? What's that?
All right. That's being generous, so generally aside, I think our next
You know it's
item
okay.
is SOS Richmond, O'Neill Fernandez.
Yeah.
I think we have,
Oh, he's on.
they make, I need to look at what.
Careful.
Look at there.
Doing.
There you go.
Remotely.
Yeah.
In the, it's like, hey, we've got this event being recorded and we've got judges and he set up the room all fancy and everything.
Keep an eye about that.
Yeah.
Ronnie and I are hot.
Well.
Yeah, I'm just bringing up the slide. While he's getting that, I'm just gonna start while he's getting this, it's just gonna introduce myself. So I'm O'Neill Knightis, I'm Director of Programs for Safe Organized Spaces, as well as one of the wellness ambassadors for Lifelong Medical and an ex-unhoused person out of your guys' encampments. And I mean, you guys, meaning El Sobrante. I had many years out here living in tents, my bars, me and my wife, throughout El Sobrante. So El Sobrante was home to me for a while in a tent. Sure what the next slide is, okay. Is that the first slide?
That's the first.
Okay, you can, yeah, so that's the whole team, there. You can go to the next slide.
Including the baby, that's good, starting up.
Yeah, that's me and my wife's, daughter, so yep. We try to get them going early, teach them all.
Hey.
So what is SOS Richmond? Empowerment of our unhoused neighbors on their journey to health, housing, income, and personal goals. We are a constituent, designed, and guided organization established in 2021. SOS is convinced that equitable solutions to displacement and disposition must come from unhoused people themselves, who most impacted. Work together, we can all be stewards for change. That's one of our big things, is that steward for change. You know, each person, like my hat, you know, neighbors helping neighbors. You know, we all are stewards for change, not that that's why everybody, you guys doing it, stewards for change. Tent to home, I'm not gonna read the doses, but a big part of what we do is peer on peer. 90% of my staff is from the unhoused community. Some are still in the tents, some are in transition. It's been beautiful because with some of the closure to the large encampments throughout Richmond, I say more than 50% of our staff are housed right now. So that's a real big plus over here. So we do, you know, really it's an empowerment model. We want to make sure you feel it, you create it, you move it on to the next thing, you know. Everybody, you see the showers on there, you know, I got hired straight out of the tent. I have also got a tent. Actually, my last time I lived out here homeless was, wife was 7 months pregnant. Our executive director was like, come on in. My wife already worked for SOS. So we get pulled right out of the mud, you know, right out of the RV. Everybody does, so it's beautiful. Go to the next slide. So we have 3 parts to our deepening of our work. Our first one's encampment survival and stabilization, trash cleanup, mobile showers, laundry, harm reduction, and encampment mapping. We do this in just El Sobrante. It's been a while since I've been here, so I don't think we have this team yet. We clean the trash in the encampments throughout El Sobrante twice a week. I have one 4, sometimes 5-man crew that works in different parts of El Sobrante. You know, a lot of our focus, of course, right now is across Rabies because it's a large encampment, but we've done, you know, we've helped out DJs, we did an encampment behind there in the last few months. So, you know, we are doing across El Sobrante. So we have one crew each day doing that. I'm sorry, on Mondays we do that, and on Tuesdays I have another 3-man team, which is our mobile team. So then we follow up. So if you guys are ever driving down the road, and you see a pile of trash on the side of the road, and it looks like it was stacked there, just give me a day, I'll be there the next day to pick it up. You know, so sometimes I get calls and I go, yep, I know about the trash pile. So it's us, because we have our crews mobile, that's our mobile day there. Our showers, amazing. It's been El Sobrante, we went for Monday, the El Portal Church of Christ has opened their doors to us. It is amazing because this is our best spot. We the church on Tuesday, so they open their doors one day, now they open their doors 2 days a week. We see 20+ people a day. The showers runs about 2 hours. We are creating things called mobile resource centers. And this idea came up from another organization, but as they were telling it to me, I go, well, that's already happening. Now Sobrante, we have CORE shows up. Healthcare for homeless shows up, the food bank will show up. Some of the community members, we have someone that cooks food on Thursdays and brings a truckload of donations. The church cooks on Tuesdays. So it's a one-stop shop. So we created it naturally without the thought of that. Until that put into play, I was going, wait a second, why are you doing that? So it's something we're trying to do throughout all of Richmond, is create mobile service centers. Our second one is laundry we do once a week in El Sobrante. We'll do it 3 times throughout Richmond. I just was there today. We did about 18 people in the rain. So that meant 18 people came out of the Grady's, came out of the, you know, all these little encampments. Which I know when I live down there, rain like this, I'm staying in the tent. I'm not walking out like that. It's hard to get down those hills. So 18 people showed up today to get their laundry done. These are the moments when they need it the most. Blankets are wet, clothes are wet. Only time they're gonna keep one. So we did mapping, and I think last time I was here, I talked a little bit about it. We did a mapping. We started in El Sobrante. Took a 20-minute hike all the way up in the hills. We started our counts as far back and came out all the way through. So it's something that we're gonna keep doing. Every few months, we're gonna update our maps. You know that the counts go from there, here, and bounce around. So we will continue that. Our newest thing is a 90-day program. So I'm going on to our second one, our navigation to housing and income development. Our 90-day programs, our newest program hasn't run, we haven't done it yet. The pilot will be this month. We will hire 4 new employees for 90-day work ready program. So everyone always is talking about, well, we need to get them in that union or in that. We need to teach them soft skills. We don't know how to have a job yet.
Right.
Why am I gonna give you a 40-hour week? You can use a job. Let's teach you the 90 days of working with peers to get you the skills, the soft skills. So basically it's gonna be what, 50% classroom time and 50% work time, about 12 to 15-hour work weeks. Same thing on the classroom side. And it's teaching them how to write, financial literacy, healthy choices. I mean, go feed the ducks, it's healthy. Something that a homeless person does not do often is take themselves off the streets and do something different that isn't nothing to do with the streets. That's what I did in my sobriety. Me and my buddy would feed the ducks. And it helped me. Every time I fed the ducks, I walked out of there feeling I could let go the tough guy. So the little things that we need to teach them. Soft skills of life. You know, before we can give them the welder's gloves and say, here's that skill, we need to make sure they can accomplish that and fulfill that. Our third one is housing sustainability and wellness. We're working with the city right now for a bunch of harm reduction. There's been grants given out for naloxone and overdose trainings and stuff. So hopefully we will, us with Lifelong, will be awarded some of that to create more naloxone trainings to the encampments, engagement one-on-ones, maybe some listening events where how many people walk up to a drug addict and go, hey, what kind of drugs do you use? And they go, well, I use this. Not many. Not many. But when I walk in there and go, I'm an ex-drug addict, I know that I partied with you only a few years ago, let's sit down. Now they're gonna be more open to say, you know what? I've been using fentanyl, I've been using, and this is the approach that we're trying to tell them that, these new housing opportunities that are coming throughout, the mandatory is that you're sober.
You gotta be clean.
I'm one of them, I'm one of the 3 people out of the encampment out of North Richmond. There's 3 of us. Me, my wife, and another SS staff member that are sober out of the 102 people that were counted. So you had 102 people, you're saying that now I'm gonna take your housing away because you're not sober. Instead, let's bring harm reduction, treat them as where they're at, and work on that. They will get there, if they don't get there, that's their choice. But we can work on getting them there. We can show them the support rather than just throwing them away. So you go to the next slide. I already went to that one, so you can. So our workforce clinic is becoming another one of our newest things as well. We do this twice a week, once in North Richmond, when on Tuesdays and once in RIP shelter. And we just talked to the college about creating a third day for this part of the area. We may have to, the college wasn't too receptive, gave us resources, but I don't think they're gonna give us space, so we're creating, we have to create a new space. Maybe San Pablo Library, because they've been working a lot with us. What the workforce clinic is place a one-stop shop. So as we're gonna get you into these 90 programs, other jobs, I need an ID, I need a birth certificate, I need everything to do to get that job. That's the space. We have some things we're working with, like Richmond Works. So we have, they gave us 20 jobs. We filled, we were very new at this, you know, so it wasn't like we knew what we were doing going into it. We were creating this as we went along. We've got 8 people hired out of the 20. Which it was 20, but we're here. 80 is better than none. So that's the space for that. We're trying to create one out here. Because there isn't, you know, the college offers students to get these things, but no one's offering it. And this is not something I'm saying is just for the accountants. This is a community thing. There's many, so I just our drive here, hi guys, 74 years old, saying I can't find a job. There's a job for everybody. You know, and I really believe that there's just a small portion of people that can't work. The more I do this clinic, the more I see that there's tutoring. You don't need to stand up, you don't need to carry, you need to read and write, you can tutor for about $75 an hour. That's not bad, that's what they're telling me, but I don't know what the $75 is what they're telling me that there's. So that's what I mean by there's work for everybody, is that you could do a tutoring a couple days a week and make a decent living, even no matter what your condition is, you know, handicaps are, there's just a very small portion that can. So our mobile service events, we've been expanding it throughout Richmond. I said El Sobrante has been beautiful because this is one that we do the most probably. All of them are here. We are hoping to expand to like in front of John Joyce. So if you talk to them, tell them to respond to us, because we're trying to do our salaries right outside of your guys' stuff on Saturdays. Would be beautiful, or around the corner. Just putting it out there. We sent an email out, but we haven't got a response yet, but you know, that would be cool. So directly across the street from the office, we're gonna create a new laundry site. So we're really spreading our services from, there is a new grant that just came out. An accounting resolution fund, we're on the second round of it. They're gonna take hotspots throughout, so it could be like on the 80 corridor, 580, all those encampments. They're gonna be somewhat of 80 encampments, 80 residents out of these, I think 15 encampments that they're gonna choose that are on Caltrans right of ways. What we're trying to do is identify those ahead of time. So we're ahead of that game, so we're offering them the work. We're offering them those stuff, so when they come in and say you have to be sober, they're already talking and experiencing things that they wouldn't have just sitting in the camp hoping I'm getting the housing. Because that's what's happening is, housing first is housing only. We need to offer them more than just the housing. Or we need to beat them to just the housing. Because if I just had the housing, no support, why do we need to take the support after? I already got the housing. So it's about catching them ahead of time. So a lot of those spots there are what we're doing or what we're planning on moving forward because of those hotspots. And there is many of these hotspots. Those are just the ones we thought were the big choices. And that's pretty much all. You don't need to go, the other ones are just more about me, and I already talked about me, and most of the people here already heard my story 100 times. I
We love you. Will.
Yeah, thank you.
I did, how does the mobile shower and laundry work? You said, okay, so people just go into the church and there's a full bath?
Well, we have our showers are a 3-stall trailer.
Oh, okay.
We are able to run as is, 100-gallon tank. We have inverters and generators.
Okay.
But our Patera, they let us use their water and electric, so we don't run out. So if I get 25 people, as long as it can stay in that time, I do 25 people. Other places, when we're running ourselves, so. The laundry is not mobile, I'm sorry, yeah, the laundry is not mobile, it's at designated laundry site, so BB's by Rayleigh's is our site.
I see.
You know, we did think about doing a mobile. But I can do 30 people, or I can do 5 people mobile.
Yeah.
Right.
But one trailer's only gonna fit so many, and that was my thought was,
Let's do 30.
you know, 30 over 5 is really a no-brainer for me.
Okay. Thank you, and of course, the work that you're doing is brilliant.
Well, I'm just struck with you and Lieutenant Rodriguez right next to each other. This is like the solution, right? You two great guys like food, right? I wanted to ask both of you, what about, what are you seeing with, I look at the news and, you know, things look much bigger than maybe they are, or maybe they're as big as they say they are, and I just don't know. What are you noticing with fentanyl in our area? And I'm gonna ask both of you.
Yes.
How big of a problem is fentanyl right now?
So I'd say it's definitely prevalent, things like the naloxone have been a huge aid to save lives, not just from the law enforcement side, but the medical side. As O'Neill's mentioning it, getting citizens within the community to be able to do it, because a lot of times they're gonna be there before any of the first responders are gonna be there, to do that. So I think that in and of itself, kind of, shows that there is a need for it, as O'Neill mentioned, and the need to train people, how to utilize it and save it, so. Yeah.
It's huge,
Yeah,
it's huge, I lived in
because
the
it
east,
seems deadlier than anything else.
it is, absolutely, there is no other.
Just freaking kill you.
I mean, I did one in the last year, I've had other responses, but. This was when I was on house, but since I've been doing this work, I've had one overdose response, and that's right. Me and Daniel, the executive director. But we had Narcan on us, ran down to the county. Got the guy back up and got him to the hospital, and we actually followed him through the process. We drove in the middle of the night to come up at the end of the night, make sure he was safe coming home, you know, so we walked him through that. They got the fire department showed up because we didn't want to get in the car with us, but they showed up a little, going, no, you have to go, and then kind of listen. But the problem's bad. And as far as encampment goes, I'm able to walk in an encampment and go, I need to watch out for them.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing the needles, I'm seeing the interaction from the person, and I'm sure for you guys, the same thing. So I do know certain areas, when I send my team out, I know what we're about to expect. I know that, okay. Make sure you have the overdose kits with you. Make sure you're handing that out to that account. Because if they're not out there, they're not gonna save them. So it's huge.
I think the good thing that, when you mentioned that we're seeing is that there are being resources provided from various avenues. Ultimately, it's gonna come down to the individuals to be willing to accept the help and accept the resources. And in some cases, it takes time, but at least getting folks out there to make the contact that sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And so you mentioned sometimes it's, hey, I would love to do that, but I don't have such and such in place to be able to do that. Well, guess what? We got resources to be able to get you that. So I think the partnerships, the things that you guys are doing, that's great. It definitely helps us to where we can reach out to somebody and go, well, maybe law enforcement is not the appropriate resource.
Yeah, but you guys might be better at going into that camp than you.
Yeah, certainly.
I don't wanna say it like that.
Well, just the situation will depend, right? What are you being called there for? What is the need?
Right.
There is still times I have to call out. I don't like to, that's not, we always wanna try to be the friendly response or the non-authoritative response, but sometimes I.
Sometimes you gotta like it.
Oh, 911. I mean, that's plain, because no matter what I'm doing, I'm in a dangerous situation, sometimes and I have to respond, I need help.
So this is what I like, the partnerships. This is beautiful.
Do you have like a list of volunteer jobs that are needed so that neighbors who would like to volunteer could?
I mean, someone that Terry, she's like a rock star with us right now, she shows up like once a week and. So, I mean, so yes, we've been talking about that, we're very limited because mainly in the rainy season. I'm not gonna send a volunteer into that atmosphere I'm going to. You know what I mean, like you guys do your cleanups, we love to join those things, we're going down. You know, and then I don't expect to put someone in that, so we have been talking about creating that. But she just happened to stumble in and go, I can do that, and it's like, great, so.
I guess I'm not talking about things like like helping people get employment ready.
Yeah.
That kind of thing seems like better fit for neighbors to be doing.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, what we did recently just talk about it in our admin team creating that, because we do have. A list of things that we wouldn't have to employ people, that there's a lot of people that have asked us, and I don't have a way to put people in there just yet.
Okay.
But it is.
I think that there's a fair amount of goodwill, and I think when you offer people manageable sort of bite-sized pieces. Like you say, you don't want to send people down into a muddy canyon the first time they volunteer, especially if they're over 80.
Or if they're extremely clumsy, they'll wind up like breaking the ankle or something. So-
But helping with, like employment things, and
Yeah.
lots and lots of people are.
It has been talked about, and it's cool that you're even saying that, because
I guess we call it like administrative task, if you want to put a label on it, because as opposed to. I'll basically call it office work as opposed to field work, in other words.
I mean, but she comes in and helps us with our donations.
So.
So, yeah.
Sue should talk to Tony,
Who's been taking my place in these meetings, so I didn't have to be,
and
I'm at other ones.
on my note, I am their volunteer donations coordinator. And I'm going to tell you guys, we need men's clothing. Women's, we have so much of. Men, donate, give us some of your clothing.
Tents is always needed, I mean, right now.
Right now, it's winter stuff. We have
Thank
too many women's stuff and not enough men's.
So I think there are more questions. We did-
What about your- Ronnie said.
I don't have a question, I just wanna commend you all on your work. When me and my family lived in Point Richmond, we befriended someone that spoke really highly of you all, and also I think worked with you. Unfortunately, she passed 3 or 4 years ago, but every time we would, see her, she was awesome and just speaking your praises, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Always good to hear, mainly out of Cornbridge.
Yeah, so, how is SOS funded?
So we are funded through, I mean, we have our major funding is through Richmond. But Sohelo, when we got our last contract, went to back for the county and said, why are we excluding our surroundings in the North Richmond? So we are all of Richmond excluding, the county areas. But we do have some other fundings, like I'm employed, and there's a couple of us that are employed directly through Lifelong. So there is other things that we were working on, but our major funding is to that. Yeah.
But Terry had a great fundraiser for him.
Yes, I was saying there's a lot of other things that we are, we've
Maybe
had a
he
lot
was
of.
sick that night, maybe, but the rest of us were there.
So yeah, but our major funding is through that, we are working on, you spoke about Measure X earlier, we are applying for some of the Measure X funding, it's a hard one to bite, I know when the first one for the East on House part of it. The H3 teams, I believe it was something like $37 million was asked, but there was only 12 million to give. And if you didn't fit that exact criteria. Not everybody thinks that picking up trash and giving people showers are ideal to getting them out of housing, or getting them into housing. You know, whereas I see the importance of it. So it's really selling ourselves and the things that we're doing in this workforce and is what's hopefully gonna be able to sell us into those common funds. That's gonna let us actually go to San Pablo and go to the other areas and not just Bridgeport.
So you are doing awesome work,
Yes.
I commend you enough. Thank you. Residents, for O'Neill,
Chair, if I could make a quick comment.
sure. Please, go ahead.
Chair Lang, thank you so much. And O'Neill, I just wanted to reach out and echo the many thanks for the SOS team. Our coordination on a project in 2023 was paramount to reducing fuels and reducing the risk to, as a matter of fact, a homeless encampment and the surrounding area. So your work has not gone unnoticed. And I look forward to partnering in a capacity that you feel it would be most beneficial for your team. I really commend you for the work that you've done, and you've made my job easier. So thank you.
Well, that was a great discussion. Thank you so much for coming and presenting to us and see everybody really supports your work. So if there, without further ado, we can go into our next agenda item, which are development plan applications, variance reports, et cetera, et cetera. And the first one is B1, county file number CDSE 2313. And so the applicant is requesting approval of an El Sobrante administrative review application to allow an administrative services office within an existing commercial building for a DMV registration business. So if this particular building is on the northwest corner of the intersection of San Pablo Dam Road and El Portal. So this is the Avi Sadi building. And those are all administrative offices. I mean, we've gone there to get stuff notarized, for example.
It's already an office building.
Yeah, so,
I looked at it and said, okay.
yeah, so I, you know, so they wanna put another business there that basically helps people register for DMV. The issue.
Is it an official DMV?
No.
Satellite?
The business that's all people apply.
Yeah, it's kind of like what AAA does at the hotel office, you can do DMV from them. It's the same idea.
Convenient, thanks.
Thank you.
Use no lines.
Yeah, so basically, they facilitate that.
Well, this looks obvious.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, can we take a vote?
Yeah.
Yes, all support. Okay, I'll write the planner. The second item, D2, county file number CDSE 14. The applicant requests approval of an El Sobrante administrative permit for establishment of a nail salon business in tenant space B. Signage also proposed for Nailvana. So this business is located, so if you drive up Appian Way, you get to the top, you make a left on the Appian Way heading towards the freeway. Kind of across the street diagonal from the post office, there's that strip mall that used to have the Starbucks.
That's State Farm and Subway.
So, yes, the Noodle House and all that.
Elvana would be in there.
So the Elvana would be in there, there's like an eyebrow threading place next to it.
This looks like another slam dunk.
That's it.
So, yeah, so it's just like,
These are easy.
yeah, so all in favor,
Aye.
okay.
Third one, not
And then the third one, so this is on El Centro Road. So the applicant is requesting approval of a variance application. So what they want to do is place a 1,440 square foot accessory building on this lot. And I don't know if we can display the map of the lot.
Well, it looks like
I
we've
know
got an
that-
architect online. Is she here for this?
Hi, that's me.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and take
Thanks
us
for
through
putting
this
your
application?
name on there, then then I knew it was you.
Okay, why don't you take us through the application?
Sure, happy to
And
do
if
it.
there's anything that you want to share on the Zoom, like a plan, the drawing, I mean,
I think that you have the drawings
we do.
in your minutes, yeah,
Okay,
and that's,
yeah, we do.
those,
We don't.
Yes, it's in the one that,
See, online.
in the agenda.
Oh, that one, okay, sorry.
So if you go to your email, 8:03 AM today,
Oh,
there's a 8:01 AM.
and just.
Yeah, so it's basically a really long, narrow lot.
It
In
is.
front of it, there's a house and a driveway, and in the back.
I have a display here.
Yeah, it's that.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
All right, so you don't need to hear me blather on.
You can see the site plan.
Yeah,
So, my client is also, a gentleman that I use for projects. He's a craftsman who works with metal and glass, and he uses reclaimed materials to produce his work. This space that he would like to legalize, he didn't realize he needed to he didn't realize he needed to go through the permit process.
so the building's already built.
Oh, yeah, it's
Okay.
there, that's right, it is there, it's been there, yeah, okay.
That's right. So he received a notice of violation for the building, and he asked for my help to legalize it if possible. I have been to the site. I have walked it carefully. I've studied the details, and I can produce further documentation of all of these things. But the first step for us, I think, is to get approval via the variance process for the size of the accessory storage building that he's requesting. And the reason that he needs a space of this size is because he does work with reclaimed materials from different job sites. So he does have a variety of collections of metals that he then reorganizes into different constructs for different projects depending on the need. So he's.
So what would be an example of a project he does?
Sure, yeah. So he'll take portions of metal from buildings that are being deconstructed, and then he'll refabricate those into things that go. There's a retail client that he worked with recently where he's built custom metal storage units on wheels that then would fit into very specific sizes for the points of sale that could be relocated depending on what was needed in the retail floor. So his work is very sturdy, it's very strong, but it's also very artistic. And so he is sought after by a pretty wide variety of different people. I happen to be one architect who uses him occasionally on boutique retail projects, but he has been hired by residential clients and by other commercial clients who are owners. They will hire him directly for specific work. He'll build custom bar fabrications and things like that. I've seen him do some. He does beautiful work. He used to teach at the Crucible. He's got some excellent skills.
So I'm sorry, just a question, is the place being used for actual like fabrication, or is it just storage of materials?
It's for storage. It's for storage, and the size of it really has to do with the fact that he doesn't know exactly when the right materials will come to the table, and sometimes he needs to hold on to things for years before the right project comes up. And he's not a young man. He just turned, I think, 61 now, and so he has a reasonable collection. I know he's not, but what I'm saying is that he's not like he has. No. He's got. The reason I'm saying this is that he has a history of holding on to things for a period of years and then using them in projects, and it's not like
You find something in 6 months and then 6 months later you go. So he has this really wonderful multivariate collection of different things, and he uses them here and there in different projects at different times. And so it's not a small collection. That's my point. Yeah,
So,
like when it's hard to collect that many things when you're in your 20s, but by the time you get, do you know what I, like it's, and I,
so there are no like.
You dug your way out.
There are no solvents, flammable materials, stuff like that stored there.
no, it's metal and glass. It's metal and glass. It's, and there's, I mean, there's safe paths of travel with, he's not a hoarder or anything like that. Like he's careful and he's thoughtful and he's artistic. I mean, he's kind of a lovely human.
Okay, just another quick question, and I'm so sorry to interrupt, it's just
Yeah,
like, I
no,
want
it's
to
okay.
brain dump this before I forget it.
Yeah.
In terms of like the stuff that's being stored in that house, is it being trucked in with big trucks? Is it like a pickup truck? How is it? What's the kind of traffic?
He does have a small, I mean, it's not, there's not a heavy amount of traffic, but he does have a smaller truck. That's, it's not a big thing. But he does have a smaller truck that he does use. And he's one person, right? He sometimes works with people that come to the table to help him, but he's not, he doesn't have like a team of 20 people that are constantly in and out running all over the place. Does that make sense? Like it's not a lot of traffic, yeah.
Let me confirm that, because I live around the corner from this. I live on
Oh,
Lambert.
okay.
I live on Lambert, the road when you go down the bottom of the hill, that's the street at the bottom of the hill. So I live
sure.
I live about a 2-minute walk from this house.
Okay.
So I can say this, there isn't that much traffic, because if there was traffic, I would have probably said something about it. Because that's one of the 2 streets that I can use to get off of my street if there's an emergency. From what I can gather, because I've lived in the neighborhood about 20 years now, and I've driven up and down the street millions of times, walked up and down the street millions of times. That building was there when I moved in, so it's not a new building. So I guess the questions I have for you, I would say Ms. Kyle, because your name thingy is not showing up on the Zoom. There we go, Ms. Brunel.
Kyle Brunel. My last name is Brunel. Yes.
Okay, so the question is, so you said there was a violation, so is there things that the building needs to be brought up to code? No.
So
I know what it is, I know what the issue is, it's just the building has been there a long time. And somebody just decided somebody's nose got bent out of joint and said, that's a bad building, even though it's been there for 20 years at least. So you're the architect, what is the plan here with your world? Is this just needs to be modernized? I mean, does it need utilities? It's not.
no, it needs to be documented, right? It's currently an undocumented construct being used as an accessory storage. And in its documentation, the maximum allowable size without a variance is 500 square feet. And so the request is for a larger size of an allowable functional use, which is an accessory storage. And so we would go through the process of the variance for the approval of the idea, and then we produce the documentation for planning and for building to approve the design articulation of it as is required by the demands of the authorities having jurisdiction. So this is the beginning of the process to get it.
So you're not planning to do anything different, you're just kind of just formalizing its existence?
We're formalizing, we want to pay for the fees associated with it and all of that good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I had a question regarding the fabrication. Does he do that on site?
Fabrication.
On this property?
His
work that he does.
No.
He fabricates.
No, he's doing storage on site. He has fabrication facility in Oakland. But so it was during COVID that he lost the capacity for his storage. It was during COVID, so he needed a space to put his storage.
And he started to utilize this, so there's no, he's not doing a business out of this property, he's just storing his parts and then shipping it or taking it
And working off-site,
and working
yes.
not
As I
on the
understand it, I mean, I'm not there every second of the day, so I can't
Right,
control what
right.
they, what he does during the day, but
So I feel like I have a.
this is, in my observations, when I have been there and I have taken numerous photographs and, as I said, studied the details of the construct, I've only seen storage that's been done, and it's well organized. And he's got some wonderful materials. He's done a wonderful job of collecting some really interesting things over the years.
Linda has a question.
One last question, so how long has this building been there?
At least 20 years.
Well, I want her to answer.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how long it's been there.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that, I think, well, yeah, I get it that conservation and development doesn't necessarily care about that, but, if something's been there that long and not been a problem, I'm for it. Right.
So I feel like we know enough now to kind of
Yeah.
give our thoughts. I propose that we not object to this.
Right.
That we just let it go, he's not doing any business there, minimal impact on the community, it's been there a long time. I'm inclined, we should just support the variance.
with those, a comment that maybe county health should inspect it. And maybe safety, he's got electrical, he's got.
Well, that's gonna happen, like she
Yeah,
said.
that's all part of the
Yeah.
process.
Okay.
That's all part. This is just the entitlements portion is the variance
I just like to make
recommendation.
it in writing that we want it
Well,
to be
it will.
inspected and make sure it's safe.
It will.
Oh,
be.
God, that's why I'm,
This
yes,
is
that's
just
my
my-
job.
But as far as just having a house that's storage,
We take a vote.
yeah.
Alright, so everybody for?
Yeah.
Alright, there we go. So, thank you, Ms. Brunel, for your presentation. And, yeah, we're supportive.
Thank you very much.
And thank
And I'm
you
gonna
for getting out for our whole
Yeah.
meeting.
And I'm gonna write the planner and indicate what our recommendation is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your help and appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So next item is information reports by MAC members. So.
You were just doing that.
No, I was waiting.
Oh, so I had a brief one actually with respect to the flaring at Chevron. So Chevron has had a lot of flaring statistically. They have more flaring incidents than would be expected based on rates from other refineries in the states. So they have a real issue with that. This is something that has been of concern specifically to people living in Richmond near the Chevron refinery because they see these gigantic flares. And it's really distressing to them. And it looks like, with the flares, there's a lot of release of greenhouse gases, not to mention sulfur dioxide, which is never good. So Sohela convened a meeting with members, it was actually pretty impressive, like the whole executive team of the Bay Area Air Quality Management showed up at Richmond City Hall, and she invited me to kind of join, kind of observe from the El Sobrante point of view. And a number of issues were discussed. One of them was kind of an overall sort of Bay Area wide air quality plan that is governed by a steering committee. But unfortunately, the boundaries of that steering committee are based on an algorithm that involves like the impact from based on measurements of sensors and proximity to the refinery and particulate matter and stuff like that. So unincorporated El Sobrante and the El Sobrante part of Richmond is not included in the steering committee, but we will have the chance to provide input at a later date before this plan for reduction of this sort of flaring activity comes into play. And the council for the Bay, legal counsel for the Bay Area Air Quality Management District was there, and she mentioned that, you know, among the issues being discussed were increased penalties to sort of act as a disincentive for these flaring activities.
Are those accidents or are they just?
So this way, so the flares occur, you know, you have this this oil refinery. And that oil refinery is a whole system of pipes and valves and things like that, and gas pressures build up, and when you have pressure build up, you have to vent it. And that's basically what a flare is. Now, any refinery is gonna have, just due to sort of normal fluctuations, it's gonna happen once in a while. But the fact that this is happening regularly seems to have something to do with a lack of investment by Chevron in properly controlling the operation of this plant. And so.
Since other refineries do better, we know they could.
Some do worse.
Some don't.
So I just wanted to let you know that Sohayla is on top of it. She asked them a lot of hard questions. You know, I asked them, you know, what are we gonna do about making these people actually invest in the plant, because it's actually, the fines are so low. You know, they're really hundreds of thousands of dollars that compare to the gigantic sums that they earn. You know, it's just easier to pay the fine than it is to actually spend money to invest in improving your process. So
the no presence on the steering committee, is that what you said? Maybe somebody should say.
So Hila said, you know, this is, you know, inexcusable, why we're affected by this, why aren't we on it?
Well, I know that, but I think maybe somebody should put it up to them, say, what the hell happens if there's an explosion at the refinery, which is a large one, which is gonna just like be a mushroom cloud kind of thing, which goes right down. Maybe they need to be
It won't go through all Sobrante because we're not on the committee.
You're right. What was I thinking?
And that's the point of the flaring. Flaring actually prevents that.
So the pushback when Sohayla brought this up was that basically the report is almost done and it's about ready to be submitted for public comment. But there will be time to, you know, basically have our input.
Do we need to make a trip to San Ramon? Is that what we need to do? That's where Chevron's headquarters are.
You think Shane might flare?
Oh.
Good one.
Man, it's just been on it tonight.
Mom joke? Dad jokes.
Is it?
Oh.
No.
On
that note.
I think it. Why do you gotta do something?
Have like a pause button, like a.
So the bottom line, there's stuff in sense to put reasonable fines in place that will actually push oil refineries to become a bit
Well,
more.
specifically this Chevron refinery.
This Chevron refinery, okay.
So that's being considered. I don't know what process is actually in place, what fines are being considered. But the point is, we'll have a chance to weigh in, and I think we need to work with Sohayla, you know, to make sure that we do.
And she's all over it.
And she's all.
What was Chevron's response by their so frequent?
So Chevron was not at the meeting.
Oh. Okay.
So I just, you know, I just wanted to tell you that.
Yeah.
Because I think it was either Mickey or Sue, you brought up the issue of flaring.
Last one.
Just
Earlier, before the meeting.
Before the meeting.
What's
started.
about flaring?
So,
They were reading the minutes
Oh, yeah, it was in the.
last month.
Yeah.
but I think the main thing is that this steering committee put out to finish its work.
Okay.
You know, for whatever reason, the El Sobrante area was not included within the boundaries of the steering committee, but there is a chance to examine the report and put in our 2 cents. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is I'm also on the oversight committee for that Martinez catalyst release incident. And the findings regarding the health impact have been released. But there was also a finding regarding, an investigation regarding the root cause. And that is going to be very shortly released for public comment, if it hasn't been already. And so what I was thinking is maybe the next meeting, since it'll be, released for comment by then, I could do kind of an overall report on my experience in being a member of oversight committee.
I think also that John Joya has some pretty strong feelings about the flaring. Would Mikey include something about that in your next information from the supervisor?
I can reach out, but I know that he and also Chair Glover, they did an interview.
I was gonna say, they did an event, Fed did an event.
Yeah, right outside the
Yeah.
area, so.
They were-
So there was a very, a very stern communique issued to the Martinez.
Yeah.
And there's also a wrong email, because they
How did
they've had
hey,
a couple of incidents even after this disaster.
Yeah.
In the 24-ton catalyst release in last.
which crosses over with SOS Richmond in that they found some of this stuff in creeks a long way away, and you guys are living down there and going in that water, God. So,
Okay, so.
all connected.
So unless anybody else has MAC member information reports, we can go to our.
I have a question because I missed the last meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, our subcommittee. I missed it. Is the zoning and planning committee being resurrected?
Maybe.
Maybe, okay,
We're trying.
okay, well, I want to be on this.
Not yet.
Yeah, we approved it at the last meeting.
At the chamber?
No, the
Ours,
ours.
Okay, must have missed it in the.
I need to,
But it takes all the different parts.
Yeah.
To make it work.
Okay, so. Subcommittee reports, our subcommittee.
For now.
Fair enough.
We will have a second.
Yeah, we'll have a.
Okay, so cleanup and beautification, our next third Saturday cleanup is January 20th, which is also, I think we will probably promote it as a Martin Luther King National Day of Service. To try to get people to give back to their community in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. And as usual, it meets here at the library in the parking lot. We have the equipment and send people out to areas that have been identified that need some attention to pick up litter. And so that's January 20th, 10 o'clock, 10 to noon. I hope to see people there. I'll start off the year with a good New Year's resolution to keep El Sobrante clean and beautiful. We need to set up a cleanup and beautification subcommittee meeting. So I don't know if we want to do that at this meeting, or should we just send an email around?
I think it's better by email.
Yes, okay, all right, we'll do that. We are going to be updating, we're running low, we've gone through about, I don't know, 3,000 of these
We're
posts
now significantly adding to the list of problems.
I haven't seen them around, but if anybody. If people could look at the backside of this and see if there's something that should be on here or replaced or edited, give us your input and. Wonderful.
There will be a new edition.
A new edition for, and thank you, Chris, for helping with.
Do you think that next time we might include what to do with, to say it, unwanted pets?
I don't know, that's part of the.
But it's not real, but it's just a problem.
We're gonna take on, I do for all.
No, yeah, right.
I mean, I get it that
you know, they come in litters, but.
You deserve that.
Is this the New Year's resolution? We gonna make bad comments?
Stop venting.
Don't forget the bronzes.
That's another.
Wow.
So,
It's like bedtime.
also, coming up, aside from our National Day of Service, we will be, I suppose we will be doing another Earth Day event here in partnership with the library and SOS Richmond, which has been instrumental in our efforts as well, and we're so excited, and also Spotters. So we'll have to start thinking about that. It's gonna be on 4/20.
Oh,
Maybe we'll bring the artist. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, as a sponsor.
That actually makes perfect, that makes.
I know, that makes perfect sense. They also want to give back to the.
Yes.
And we talked about safe disposal of unwanted cannabis products.
That is so. That is definitely, and it bothers me as somebody who's been involved in the cannabis reform movement, you know, for a long time, like 30 years, over 30 years, I mean. It really bothers me when I see that. So I think I will reach out this year, and we'll talk about that at the meeting. What are some of the goals I think we want to do this year? And one of my goals would be not only maybe making an outreach to dispensaries so that they can, you know, be mindful of the litter that they are creating and try to help us mitigate that. But also I would love to see a PR campaign, you know, and signage here in El Sobrante, and PSAs, video, and elsewhere, however we can get the message out to stop littering and keep our areas clean. And one of the most noticeable things that has happened so far since our last meeting is that members of the green team have taken it upon themselves to, or not taking it upon themselves, they are working with the Chamber of Commerce and Dorcas to get the planters in better shape that are downtown as part of the beautification effort. And Chris, you wanna talk a little bit about that?
Well, I wasn't one of the people, were you actually doing work? I
No,
would just say that overall what's happened is that in a way it's kind of related to the trash can issue, which is that the Chamber of Commerce sponsored this idea of putting out the planters at one point with the idea that business would take care of it. It turned out that businesses did not do as good a job taking care of it as they'd been anticipated. And so it had fallen upon Dorcas to take care of that Citizen of the Year last year, I believe. So she has graciously handed it on to the green team, and there've been a few different specific events and worked on specific planters, and one of the big projects still have is around the back
Mechanics.
mechanics, because their planters are all lopsided and crooked, and so we need to figure out ways of leveling everything out before we can actually do the next step.
You need Bobcat Joe.
Yeah, there you go. And the other thing that's a problem for us is, of course, the water, but I think we're getting closer.
Max.
Seriously, I just
Max.
solution, or my neighbor Max can help us do that.
oh,
Yeah, just.
is that the guy on the Chamber of Commerce, new, the new member?
Maybe that.
He doesn't.
Yeah, he owns all that equipment.
I think his partner, he's got all the heavy equipment you need, everything you want wherever.
And actually, that brings up to another point, which is that I haven't talked to the chamber about it, but maybe this is the opportunity, is that the placement of the planters, it was placed on where the businesses offered to take care of them originally, but now I think something should be reorganized, but you know, that's down the road. I just close with saying that we've been actually a lot of progress on this in the past 2 months.
Okay, yeah, just this week, you know, they planted new plants and some outside the tire wheel near there.
My Jack in the Box.
With Lyle, and he's been a good partner. as well. He's been often.
People have like plants that are water resistant, I mean, they're, excuse me,
Yeah, so they're.
drought resistant and preferably either succulent or native
And
thing.
right now, they're just getting watered like mad. So there's no issue around watering at the moment.
No.
Good time to plant.
Thank you. And the final thing is, we're excited to honor Ramon Ferre, he's not on, he left already. At the Chamber of Commerce installation dinner, that's on the 27th. Yeah, so hopefully people will come there and he's gonna be the citizen of the year. Very instrumental.
Well deserved.
The green team and how we as a great citizen, and you'll hear more about it. So we plan to
If
go.
I could throw in one other last thing though, is that as regards the trash cans downtown, which we've spent a lot of time talking about what to do about. Since they've been gone, we have not seen an increase in trash in the downtown. So the urgency of that, which we thought was going to be very urgent, seems now to be less urgent than it was, and I just want to let people know, we've been monitoring the trash and it has not gotten worse.
That's good.
Good, that's good.
Yeah.
So,
It hasn't gotten better, but it hasn't gotten worse.
any questions for Mickey? The subcommittee?
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
I want to point out, because Mickey is too modest to say this, and Chris and Terry also, that there's a huge amount of chatter on the WhatsApp. And people are going out and doing, and I know you two, Maria, are all very involved in that, of people going out and doing litter cleanup off, not just the third Saturday, but often it's like a social event, and it's really amusing.
Pick up your coffee and. Okay, yeah.
You guys did such a good job on that, your cards made it all the way to the Santa Fe area in Richmond. I was at a stuff and they go, why don't your flags look like this? And I showed me that flyer, and I go, okay, yeah, we can do that.
I'm excited to that. I have heard of other communities that are starting to have their own cleanup.
Yeah, theirs is on the last Saturdays. So
You're leading the way, Mickey. Yeah. Leading the way.
All right.
What they really appreciated, what they really appreciated was the back of you guys were talking about the back of your card. They wanted to look like the whole card, but they really appreciated what you did in the back of the card. I'm sure they took some of your notes going, you need to put that one on there, but they really appreciated the back of it, what we
So,
Yeah, for sure. Anybody who wants to adopt this, we want to help support that.
so if there are no.
Thank you, and thank you, Sue. I just want one other thing.
But where?
Thank you for bringing up the WhatsApp. If people are interested in joining us and hearing more about what we want to be doing, or if somebody notices a big area or an area that should be cleaned up between the cleanup.
You've got a WhatsApp group.
We've got a WhatsApp group, a cleanup and beautification WhatsApp group, so let us know.
Okay, so if there are no further comments about subcommittee reports, speakers for upcoming SNAC meetings. I will be in contact with you, Ronnie, about whether I'll be able to present something on the Martinez refinery incident. And I'll work with Sohela to see what I can present about the Chevron. Maybe a more complete presentation regarding the Chevron flaring.
Okay.
So air quality issues.
I have an idea. Can we get representatives from various agencies that can help us figure out who do we report things to? I mean, like what does code enforcement handle? What does environmental health handle? Maybe public works or something like that. It would be nice to know who do we contact if we have an issue, because we're never sure who's doing what and which is the right one to.
You contact that gentleman right over there.
And he figures it out.
He figures it out, gets to the right
Maybe
person.
you can tell us what does code enforcement, what qualifies as a code enforcement issue? What qualifies as an environmental health issue that they deal with and public works?
Yeah, that would be something that I think you just basically provide a nice Excel spreadsheet or a
That
table.
would be good.
A table, that's all.
So maybe this is something that you could address when you give your county report at the next meeting.
I'm trying to track, so
Okay.
you wanted to know what those specific divisions do?
What do we?
Yeah, what do they do so that we know if they are the.
And how do we get them to do it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, specifically, I've sent this out in a few emails, but in regards to let's see, what do we got here? Like reporting things, I know Public Works specifically, they have 4 different ways of reporting things. But I mean, we can talk offline.
Yeah,
and see.
it's not so much who to report to, which division as to what gets reported to whom.
Okay.
That's what
Yeah.
Nikki's asking,
Yeah.
because, you know, we'll have members of the community ask us, hey, this is going on, what do we do about it? And, you know, we'd like to say, well, let's see, we have a chart here and you said it's this, so it goes to this person. Most times they're like, oh.
So why don't we do this? Let's just send Ronnie by email some ideas of instances where we want to report something. So you see a pile of garbage, or you see somebody who's running a business in their backyard where they shouldn't be, or you see, you know, there's an excessive noise issue, there's things like that. And then maybe we could just have a presentation, something like this gets presented here, something like this gets sent here, et cetera.
For some reason, for the upcoming meetings, for some reason, I thought my former employer was going to be here. Either last month or this.
They
month.
were.
Oh, they were last month.
You were here last month.
Oh, yeah, well, okay. Did I miss anything exciting?
No.
I didn't think so.
There was a great unicycle juggling.
Oh,
You know,
all right.
and Director Young was really great on the unicycle.
Of course.
I thought you caught her on high wire.
Any further agenda items that we want to discuss? So people just send your suggestions to Ronnie about, you know, examples of things to report. Chris?
Yeah, I was wondering in terms of something that could be done for presentations, I know we've got different benevolent associations in town, like the Rotary, the Goose and so forth. And I would kind of like, maybe we could get something to hear from some of them about what they have going and how it intersects with what we've got going, to see how we can get more mutual cooperation with them.
That's a fun idea.
I bet, you know, I know a few people in the Elks and maybe we can get one done.
I would love that presentation, because I don't actually know what all these different, the elks and the mooses.
Well, people.
Well, so for example.
If you come here to dumpster day, you would have gotten the download.
So
Right.
our dumpster day is in the Moose Lodge parking lot, so they
There are many
they
moves.
really,
That's
it's really nice of them to make that available to us because it's not an insignificant burden on them, right?
No.
And then the Elks do a ton of stuff around town.
I know that, but I specifically, I just wanna know what, what are the elks, what are the,
Sure.
you know, because there's different
What are their plans for the year?
models and whatever.
Egypt, yeah.
Yeah, so let's see if we can get that
I
on
love
a future
that idea.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a great idea, I think that's an
They're
idea.
part of the community that.
Well, I have, a member of my church is the treasurer of Masons. And, no, it's Dan Harrington, the Richmond Lodge there in El Portal. It's another one. That was really good. Sorry.
Goodness. It's a serious event. Apologize.
Just think about it, this is on YouTube, so someone comes and looks at it the first time, and they're like,
We want to live in that town.
what happened to them? Somebody did them special brownies at the meeting, what's going on?
It's like it's Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Very that song, oh, I can't be just kidding.
Further agenda items.
About that.
So So if there are no further agenda items, we can go to public comment. Chris.
I would just have one quick comment, which is that after hearing the fire protection district, I would suggest maybe the ES&I could ask Supervisor Joyce's office to request that wildfire mitigation and firewise protect whatever you call that, groups be considered in setting insurance rates, because I know this is a big discussion right now, and I think that's something that would be useful.
And can I just add to that, this is all for the insurance commissioner.
Yeah.
We need to press the legislature and the insurance commissioner to try to do something about this, and I'm sure John is on board, but let's get him on a list of people. I'm sure they'll wanna help.
So is our current representative and ex-insurance commissioner?
I think his name, I think the first time I voted for him said, what, it was insurance commissioner.
This is true, yes, Congressman.
Maybe we should talk to Garamendi about this,
We probably should,
Yeah, so
but I'm sure Buffy would be interested too.
and her and Nancy Skinner while she's still.
Around.
Yes.
Is it a good time to bring up that we've got a 5th of March election coming up and?
We got what?
What does,
A 5th of March election
Oh,
for all kinds of offices, both local and national.
as opposed to Ides of March?
as opposed to
if there's an election.
You said Ides of March.
Okay, so there's an election.
So everyone
And-
should vote. Remember to vote, because
Oh.
lots of people don't vote, and if
Oh.
you want to find out more about it, go to the League of Women Voters, vote 411, and you can find out all about the different candidates up and down the ballot.
And and
It's just a point of information, is all.
a point of information, something that's good for voting is voting absentee. Mainly because the ballot sends be yay thick, and it's nice to be able to just take your time and sit at your kitchen table and drink tea and then look at the ballot.
Eating your gummy.
Well, it's not, I think more than tea. And that way you don't have to feel the pressure of being in a voting booth and.
So good day.
No. You got a little.
Any further public comment?
Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney. Hello.
I didn't know it's Whitney.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm good, I'm good, yeah.
We have mostly an email relationship.
Yeah, except for, I think we actually had one meeting
Maybe once.
online with guys, but yeah, anyways. I'm here representing citizens for greener communities. I'm sure many of you are somewhat familiar. I know you're very familiar, perhaps even more familiar than I am with the work. As I know, Sharon has really been speaking to a lot of advocacy points over the years. But as you all may know, one of our biggest initiatives is to establish a public park in downtown Sobrante. Which, I mean, personally, I'm a mother of 2 young children. Having a public park, I think, would be such an amazing feature to our downtown. To that end, we are having a meeting actually 1 week from today in this exact space to kind of reignite some of those efforts to work towards the park and kind of get folks on the same page about where we are from a status perspective and think through more strategically around next steps. So, yeah, I think I have some flyers here that kind of speak more to the park idea generally, and then also share a little information about the meeting specifically, but
What time is it?
it does happen. Yeah, we are. Sorry,
Will it be
yeah,
hybrid?
we'll be hybrid. Yeah, we'll have Zoom link set up. Yeah, I think from an organization perspective, we're in a little bit in like a building back phase. I joined the board 2 years ago-ish. And I think we had a pretty robust board like prior to COVID, and then kind of went down to like 3-4 people. And so we're really hoping to also build up our board and kind of establish more routines, and out of that, hopefully garner more support and be able to do more in the community. But yeah, it's a really great vision. I think, there's a lot of grant funding out there for parks. It's more than, yeah. Making it happen, but
Sue, you got anything?
yeah. I have to zero parts there.
Fire at my house.
Oh, well, we'll find it. Probably in your shirt. Pretty good. Yeah. Didn't see anything here, so it's probably still in your shirt.
Yeah. So yeah, please grab a flyer, all of our contact information is here.
Well, in the news about this maintenance money that John managed to get for parks is just huge, could be a game changer.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
And so I'm so glad you guys got a meeting on there and that now that was a real impediment.
Yeah, it was.
That was gonna be a long-term impediment to doing anything, so that's great.
Thank you for sitting through the meeting.
And ensuring all the
Can I just publicly thank this woman right here? She's the one who got us nonprofit status for the LLC, for the Good Table LLC.
Well done.
And did all that horrible work as it takes to do that. So I am super grateful.
I do have one more public comment on a
Good.
separate matter. This is kind of a matter that I've been advocating around, which is the reopening of our West Contra Costa Unified School District outdoor recreational facilities to the public. You know,
Oh,
that's like
yeah.
a huge mouthful, but like basically I moved to this community almost 4 years ago, and at that point, most of the schools were open on the weekends, the outdoor facilities. And then slowly over the past 3 years or so, they've become locked, you know, with a chain link. And this is very visible in the community, like many people that I've spoken to are upset about it. And me in particular, because we used to go to those places on the weekends with my kids, and that's, you know, the one safe place they can play without having to worry about cars, etc. So I've kind of undertaken this advocacy effort to try to push the school board to reopen. And there's just like a lot there in terms of like the legality, is it legal, is it not, that they're actually closed because there's this maintenance.
Have you talked to Sophia?
Yeah, she's been a very strong advocate.
Well, she said she got it done.
They're not open on the weekends.
Well, they said they would give keys to individuals to open up on the weekends, according to Sophia. You could apply to get a key.
I think that's different though than what I would hope to see, which is
Oh, yeah.
actually, because that's a whole logistical thing to get a key.
It's a start, so I would maybe suggest, since you already have a relationship with Sohaila, that you reach out to her and see what specifically she was able to accomplish. Because I understand that, because you know, even though I live here, I really enjoyed walking the track at Mineral Valley High School. And it's like, oh, it's locked, it's like, you know.
Well, we did manage to do it for Olinda. So there was an individual anyway. So there's a pathway. It's not as good as what you're suggesting, but
It's a start.
there is a pathway that she found.
But the Mr. E, yeah, there's funding to support, in theory, that we pay on our property tax.
Oh, yeah, we pay.
We pay a lot of tax.
So, I don't know, yeah, it's just one of those things, like an example of what we lost during COVID, and we're like not getting it back, and so we advocate. And we're not getting it back, like that's very apparent to me, I've spoken up about it. People say like, yeah, I agree with you, but there's no, to my knowledge, tangible. Like, there's been very incremental tangible.
So I thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Are there any further public comments? Then I think we can adjourn, so.
Okay, we can go now.